Are you addicted to 90s retro gaming? Do you want to become a part of a rad gamer community? Then you're in the right place. My name is Trust. Today's guest on the Bear Hug Radio is the one and only Burns. He is the project manager at Pew Pew, and he's on the OK Bears team. Watch this episode if you want to know more about Pew Pew, the web3 gaming project that is backed by a huge web2 gaming company that makes AAA games. We just don't know who they are yet. If you want to win a fuel canister, which will allow you to mint a free Pew Pew ship, make sure to follow and like the video. And in the comments section, write Pew Pew and your Twitter handle so I can contact you when you win. Cheers to the Bears, cheers to Pew Pew and everyone. Welcome to the Bear Hug Radio. Today we have on Mr. Burns from Pew Pew from OK Bears. For people or viewers that don't know who you are, can you briefly talk to me about yourself?
Yeah, so I got into crypto in 2021 when I had surgery and was laid up in bed, and I almost bought Bitcoin in 2014, 2015 when an IT guy at my school who was a total nerd was running mining machines in the basement of the school, and I heard about it. I thought it was kind of cool, but then he started talking to me about setting up a wallet, and I was like, whoa, yeah, I don't have time for that, and I'm techie too. So it took me a really, really long time, and then I was laid up in bed, and a buddy of mine sent me a message or something about the bull run, and I got really, really interested and really obsessed, and ended up just jumping in with both feet. Eventually spent about a year really just in cryptocurrency, and then the past year and a half I've really gotten very, very much into NFTs, and I joined OK Bears as a community mod and their team back in June of this year, June or July, and have worked with so I'm on the OK Bears team, I'm on the Bitbirds team, I worked with Brains and Zombies to assist with their launch. I'm one of the core contributors for ABC, so I'm one of the kind of overseers of that community. There's maybe 4 or 5 of us that manage it. And I also started about 5 months ago or so, 5-6 months ago, I was hired by a AAA video game studio in the United States to basically develop a web3 community for their web3 onboarding. And so I dreamt up this crazy idea of Pew Pew.
Can you tell me what your favorite video game was growing up and what it is now? What is your favorite video game now?
So I'm one of those creatures of habit. I'm a 90s kid, can't get past 90s music. I like some of the new stuff, but I still really appreciate Rage Against the Machine, Smashing Pumpkins, and Wu-Tang Clan, and just video games are almost the same exact thing. I grew up with Zelda, and I grew up with Mario Brothers and Metroid, and typically, when I want to play a game for some reason, I really love playing some of those classics and classic remakes. Breath of the Wild was such an incredible game. The problem is that with a lot of these remakes, it's the same exact story over and over and over again. And I'm actually starting to get sick of it. So I don't know, I like playing Rocket League with my kid and playing Fortnite, lots of Fortnite, a lot of Minecraft.
Yeah, my students, all they do is play Minecraft or Fortnite. I mean, I tried doing it, man. I tried to get into the cool, to be a cool teacher, but I can't do Fortnite. I'm sorry, man. I don't like when they have to drop you from a plane, and then you have to find the weapons, and then you can go for 5-10 minutes sometimes without seeing anyone. And then I prefer Call of Duty, where you're kind of you see the person, boom, you shoot them, and then you die, you come back right away, and then you're right in the action,
I love Call of Duty too. I think one of my favorites definitely was some of the earlier zombie games, Call of Duty Zombies, zombie mode.
Black Ops.
Yeah,
Black Ops zombie mode, that's great. Yeah, so I wanted to talk about this because I think it's relevant. Okay, so can we talk about the HG comment?
Oh boy.
I want to know where you stand on this. Do you think that founders should be spending 20 hours a day, 7 days a week?
So I think that there are, I gotta say, it's actually pertinent to what I'm dealing with. I think that it's a really difficult situation for a founder to deal with what it is like to be a founder. I started a cryptocurrency and did a year in the trenches of trying to, basically it's a startup, trying to start with an idea and build a community, build the business, do absolutely everything, handle everything at the same time. And it is really, really, it's difficult. It's draining. It's difficult on especially if you have families. I can understand if you're 20-year-old kid or 25, don't have kids, don't have anything. But Kai's comment about the fact that he needs to be a dad too. Or I guess it was the question, like, can founders be dads? And I think that, Web3 can eat you up. It'll eat you up and spit you out in a pretty big way if you don't find balance. And, I do that to myself. I work in a number of different communities and organizations, and I work all the time. And it's difficult. So, when people are hypercritical about the person in the founder's position, and I understand that. I get why they're critical, because it's not just, it's not like the CEO of Coke, right? There's a completely intimate relationship between the person who is the founder and the founding team and the community. And that's what makes Web3 incredible to me. That's why I like it. I like being able to vibe with the people who are in charge and the people who are building, the people who are dreamers. I love that piece. Should Kais be a dad? Yeah. Being a dad and having kids, that was like the best thing that ever happened to me, aside from meeting my wife. I love my wife, but the kids thing changed me. And can you still be a dreamer and be a dad and found a project and try to make ripples in the Web3 space? I think so, but you have to set boundaries. And it is, I think, that probably one of the most difficult pieces, right? And I'm not founder of Pew Pew. I work for an organization, and it's my job to direct it and to dream up how the Web3 world is going to work and all the steps and the roadmap, etc. So on one hand, it's a little bit like being a founder. On the other hand, I am working for an organization. I get up early in the morning and I check. I check the Discord, I check Twitter, I check the socials. I check the temperature of the community, and it's a difficult role to play. I've never been in a position like Subi and Kai's, where something went that big, but to me it was big. And feeling the personal responsibility to the people that there's an intimacy between the people who are in the organization that who are buying into your brand, and I think it's really unique. The relationship is really unique, and so the question about whether it's okay, I think it also sort of depends on the brand or the project that you are starting. If it's a really simple PFP project and it's not, trying to be the next Nike, I think the expectations are a little bit lower. The expectations with Bears is really high. It's incredibly high, especially when people are buying a PFP for 20 grand. That's big money, and I get it. And it's not necessarily big money to some people, but it's definitely big money to a lot of us, to most of the normies out here. Like 20 grand for a PFP is a huge amount of money. And I think everybody needs, I personally need to temper my expectations when I think about this is going to be the next project to be Basie, to beat out Basie. I feel like I hear that all the time. And I even it almost goes through my head too, like when things pump, it could be the next big one. Could the Bears be the next, big project? And the reality is that we're not going to know today. We're not going to know tomorrow. It's going to be, for most of these projects, it takes a really long time.
Do you think the project should come before the family? In a big project such as ABC, OK Bear, the top project.
I think that should the project come before the family? I think what probably the most important thing to do for founders for a project is to build out the team so that not individuals don't get eaten alive. The family is important. Should the project come before your family? I don't think so. I think that if you are structuring a business properly and you're managing the expectations of the community, it shouldn't be an issue. That being said, Bears has struggled with this meta of being able to touch grass on the weekend. Thankfully we don't get crap for it as much anymore. I don't hear about it anymore. But that meta is good. I wake up and I check the Discord on a Saturday morning. I'm hanging out with my kids, doing my thing, and it's nice and quiet. And I tell you what, I appreciate that. I appreciate that meta. That we should be spending time with our family.
I think the bear market kind of helped that out too. Also, people are just less, when it's the bull market, everything's now, and how can we 2x, 3x, whatever. But I don't know. In my opinion, all these questions, it's I'll give you an analogy or an example. On the weekend, I work in a restaurant, where the big boss is never there on the weekend. And she has 3 kids, and we've never had a boss that had kids before. And she'll leave early and she'll take days off, and she doesn't have anyone there. When she's not there, it goes to shit. If I'm the boss, I need someone when I'm not there that can do my job.
Something similar to it.
Exactly. So yeah, there is a founder head, like there's like the Franks, the HGEs, the guys that are on top, but then if the guys under.
Yeah, there needs to be a hierarchy.
Exactly, where if the big boss, has to take a sick leave, or you know what I mean, there's someone there to replace him, and that's my opinion. And everyone's gonna have their own way or own thoughts about this, especially when it comes to like $1 million company, or people like you said spending 20,000 on a PFP. They'll have their opinion based on how they live their life, also. What would you say to someone who says like Pew Pew is not your first priority? Because I know that, like you said, it's hard to balance because family man, full-time job, OKB team, ABC, project manager at Pew Pew, the list goes on. You're basically an AI, right? What would you say to someone who says like, is it your priority?
Is it my priority? I gotta say, Pew Pew is actually really like, it is kind of my baby. It's a big priority. It's a different project. I mean, for me, it's really different. I've invested in so many different NFTs and cryptocurrencies where like, you don't know what's going to happen. And for me, because I have the ability to like actually know what's happened on the back end, and I know, personally that like the roadmap that we've made can come to fruition and is going to come to fruition. It's a very different feeling. And so I've built the plans in a really realistic way. But yeah, no, I have a lot of stuff going on. I managed to make it happen. I've pulled back from responsibility from different projects, not bears, not Bitbirds, but from other ones and some IRL ones too, which is kind of a bummer. But at the same time, like I personally believe that like the bottom is in. We talked about this months ago, like we were getting closer. I think it was probably potentially like around FTX collapse. And I feel like the building that we're doing right now, whether it's Pew Pew or Bears or ABC or whatever it is, like the building that we're doing right now as a community is going to pay off by many, many times. And I think it's going to start happening. So, I'm trying to really focus on the most important, the most tangible products or projects right now. And so like, my focus is really on just a few projects. And Pew Pew is like a big one. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about Pew Pew. Hopefully you can answer most of my questions.
I'll try.
If you want to refrain, just please Pew Pew. And
Pew Pew.
Can you talk to me about who approached you, or did you approach them? Did they approach you, and how did it go?
One of the higher up members in the organization, in the game studio, we actually worked together on another project on the cryptocurrency that I had started up, and he's absolutely brilliant. He's incredible to work with. He really is. He's a big thinker. He's super, super sharp. He sent me a message and was like, "Hey, let's talk." And it was toward like the end of, I was like midway through August, and I got on the phone with him, and he kind of like pitched this idea to me, and I was like, "Huh, okay." And I thought about it for a little while. I love video games. I don't play them as much as I would like to. My kid plays a lot, but I just like I worked myself to the bone. And this offer was really actually pretty exciting. And I don't get a lot of like job offers and I'm like, dang, this is a really cool opportunity. And so I thought about it and I called him back and we started going over and hashing over what things might look like. And then I got into a call with a broader team and then I started working and making a couple of proposals, and one thing led to another, and all of a sudden we were starting to work on roadmaps and marketing plans, and it's been a long kind of half a year working on the project and implementation, but it's one of the things that I'm like really, really excited about.
Yeah, so talk to me about Pew Pew. What is it exactly?
I came up with this concept of Pew Pew really just because we are trying to build, so Web3, or I'm sorry, it's a AAA game studio based in the US. And the reason we came up with this concept of Pew Pew was to basically build in the dark, build a Web3 community anonymously so that they don't know who we are. There's no pressure. If they're really, if the community that we build is really into gaming and they're interested in what we have to offer, they'll come along for the ride. And my vision was, like we need to build something that is representative of DLC level NFTs and values where, the price to buy in is not expensive. It's like buying a skin for a ship or, for an avatar or whatever. And it's not difficult to get into. And so, I started thinking about this fuel canister thing and powering ships and flying ships across the galaxy. And ultimately, so what it is, we've got the map of space, and you are, as a community member, or a holder, you are trying to do one of three things in order to get to the interdimensional gate. One path, one mission is to collect fuel canisters. We're trying to build up lore and make it fun and make it interesting and almost have it be like a non-game game. And so one way to get to the interdimensional gate is to collect these fuel canisters that we have minting, which was a really ambitious and difficult month-long mint that pretty much nobody ever does. It's basically a bad idea. Zombies and Brains did it. It worked really well in the beginning, and then it kind of crashed and burned. It actually works really well for us. However, people started botting it really, really hard, to the point where, you can't get anything. It was a similar issue with Zombies, but Zombies was getting DDoSed and they got their whole website got ripped down. It was really tricky. And so anyway, the fuel canister thing is tricky. We're actually pivoting. So starting tomorrow, we're gonna do an allow list and just have a big allow list where we're gonna pull people in. If they want in, they can get an allow list spot. They'll go through Subber, and then we're just gonna mint out the remaining 4,300 fuel canisters on the 15th, so that there's no botting. Everything will be allow list based, and then everybody will be happy. It's fun. I mean, that free mint meta is kind of fun. At the end of this fuel canister scavenging thing, the holders of the fuel canisters will be able to exchange those in for fully generative art 8-bit Pew Pew ships, which we actually just finished generating yesterday, and they're really awesome. I'm super excited about the art.
What you guys did was create a bit of FOMO, I think, and where people started becoming anxious to becoming frustrated to becoming desperate and stuff. And at first it really hooked me. I'm like, okay, oh shit, there's a Twitter post. And I did actually put my notifications on. It took me 4 tries. I think it was once at night, where I got in and I minted both wallets. Sorry.
It's all good. All good. You're following the rules.
Yeah, so it's 1 per wallet. So I took my burner and my main wallet, and then I just minted 2, and then it happened another time. And I think at first it was kind of frustrating. I'm like, come on, man, I want to get one. And it's pretty cheap. And now you're looking on secondary, they're all double the price. So it's but yeah, it did create a little bit of FOMO, a little bit of interest, and people putting their notifications on. So I think it was a success. And then at the end, there's always one person that's going to ruin the fun by botting and everything. So
I think we had 3. I think we had really 3 bot, and actually, amazingly enough, the botting actually it was lessened today, but we had this giant meeting with a huge team, went over all the possibilities and the pros and cons, and finally it was listen, this is probably the best and most straightforward work, where we're not torturing the developers and saying, hey, can you an allow list for every single mint over the next 2 weeks, and they look at me like I have 10 heads sometimes.
Talk to me about the team, though. How big is this team working in the background?
We have a team of about 50 people right now, and by the end of 23, we should be probably 80 to 100. It's 50 to 59, something like that.
I don't know what an average video game has, how much people they have, but I think that's pretty big. Have you met them all?
No, I work primarily with the marketing team and then the developer team. And actually, I work with the art team also. So I work with a lot of them. I think I probably work with half.
Are they more experienced video game creators, or are they in web3?
It is an actual just web2 game studio. This is their first real foray into web3.
Okay, so none of the team are familiar with blockchain and.
So we actually have one of our lead blockchain devs has a PhD in blockchain, and we actually have multiple blockchain devs. Those guys were actually they were in that meeting tonight, but we have multiple blockchain devs.
Because I was wondering if you were spearleading the Web3 team, like you were the expert in Web3 and something. Or, well,
In a way, but more like the expert in like the metas, not so much the actual hardcore, the hard coding part.
have you played the beta? Is the beta out there yet?
So Pew Pew.
Okay. Will the game be ready by the NFT launch?
By the time that we mint the Pew Pew ships, approximately that exact same time, the general community will know who we are. And there's more to it than that. So you'll know who we are and Pew Pew. You'll know who we are. And then, yeah, it's a tricky one to answer.
The reason why I asked this is that I was a big investor in botborgs. I lost a lot of money there, but they're still building in the background, but it wasn't like even started when the mint was on, you know what I mean? And then people are just like Solana's impatient and stuff like that. And then it's just like now it went from like 6, 8, 10 to like zero point 0.4 now. That's why people in the Solana space are very impatient. So that's why I'm curious to know, is it the beta that's going to be ready by, February? Is it going to be fully playable by February? Kind of like
So,
where I'm coming from.
so you'll be able to taste test a version of this game.
Okay.
Like I play it right now on like a major platform. And so part of, like basically what we've been building is like there is roadmap with the game and the game studio, and then there is this whole Web3 community building. There will be kind of like a name shift and things will change, toward the end of February.
Okay, cool. What is the aim of the Pew Pew though? Do you want to be the number one game on Solana? Do you want to be the number one NFT on Solana? Do you want to be like the number one project? Like what are you trying to aim at?
The goal is not like, it's not actually so much about Solana. So like the goal is more like, we want to be the first AAA game that integrates blockchain. That's more like Solana is a part of it, but it's a way more broad goal where, like you have Remnants or you have some of these other games, or you have Shrapnel that's on ETH, where like Shrapnel's playable on Steam, or is it Steam? And it's just in beta. But like you have games that they're developing a game, the idea is that they're going to integrate blockchain. You can play them in some way on your computer or something. We have been in the game industry for over a decade. And so because of the fact that the studio is more seasoned, their connections are more robust. And so their ability to develop those connections and relationships is, I think, more significant. Whereas like with a startup, you're kind of like, hey, we're going to make a game. It's going to be awesome. And what's the function of an NFT project when you are building a video game? I think that there's a couple of different options. One of them, and one of the options that NFTs in general have, is the perks of just holding it and the benefits of holding it, not necessarily using an NFT in the game, but getting special access to game related things.
Basically like a pass to like get into the token game community.
You said it. I didn't say it. You said it. I didn't say that.
No, but I mean like holding an NFT basically, like it gives you special access to like a Discord and stuff like that. Whereas if you're playing online and stuff, there's different utilities to having an NFT.
So imagine we're at E3 and we could have like a kind of like a token gated meetup at like the E3 conference, or NFT NYC. I'm planning on going to NFT NYC. I don't think that like that's cool. I'm excited about doing it and hopefully excited about like meeting community members, but it's not as nuanced as you would want to have the experience of like going to a specifically video game focused event.
So you're saying that Pew Pew is going to be cross-chain?
Omni-chain, I think, is actually probably more accurate. Okay. Is the goal would be omni-chain. So the goal of Pew Pew is to be a Solana-based NFT project where we develop that Web3 community. As we go deeper into the rabbit hole with where our studio is going, I think that ultimately like starting on Solana is where you want to start, and then having EVM compatible assets and having as much flexibility as possible is the goal. I think that it should be the goal for pretty much any NFT related blockchain game that would like to go big. Mm-hmm. Say PlayStation down the road integrates blockchain. right? Whatever it is that you're building needs to be able to play nice with PlayStation. And so you need to have the flexibility of being on whatever chain it is that they select.
My question was really, are you going to be building on HaidSwap or something like that?
Oh, I'm sorry, like just the NFT project?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, yeah, so the issue with staking, and I'm not so clear about emissions.
Okay.
I know that in order to get emissions for HaidSwap, you have to have I think it's something like $800,000 to put up in order to get emissions. Is that off the table? No, we definitely, because it's a Web2 corporation, we have to be really, really careful about
security,
about any kind of staking and SEC. That being said, I think like a lot of the Web3 things that you would hope for are in discussion.
Okay. Can you talk to me about what would be the utility of holding this jet?
The utility of some of the earlier stuff really is about access. And the other thing too is right now we're building a lot of the language on this little one sheet that I've made, and as well as the well as the web page. The idea is that we're starting here in this 8-bit dimension and we're going to a new and unreal dimension, right? And as we get further into the development of the overall project, those utilities will be vastly different from what the utilities are now on this first mini collection, and the super secret spaceship collection will ultimately unlock a lot more doors, and by the time that we get to that super secret spaceship collection, you'll have an understanding about what the utility means ultimately for these two collections.
One full canister will give you a free mint.
Yep, it's free.
And then why would you want to have more than one spaceship?
There are some things that we're planning on post secret spaceship that I'll be able to explain better. Really, the function of the Pew Pew ship, right, is kind of living within that lore, and we're flying this Pew Pew ship to the interdimensional gate. As of right now, that's the main function of it. There are more utilities that will release. But, typically, we talked about a little bit already, the idea of a holder pass and having access to the kind of good stuff that gamers would want.
So are we thinking early beta practice or something? Or if you were holding the secret spaceship, you will probably be playing it before anyone else kind of deal, right?
That sounds like a really cool idea.
Okay, so let me segue to something what kind of holders do you want? I'm asking this question because I remember when we minted the Utes, he was like, don't mint if you don't like the art. What kind of holders are you looking for?
The kind of holders that we are looking for are the ones that are buying it for that kind of access. I'm going to speak in hypotheticals, right? So if the kind of access that you as a gamer, a gamer enthusiast, blockchain game enthusiast, if you're really interested in getting early access to things like beta and pre-alpha games, that would be the kind of holder that we want. Somebody who really wants to kind of grow with that community and be some of the first to be boots on the ground with that kind of stuff.
So you're not promising any money, or you're not looking for flippers to try to put up your floor price and stuff like that. Just the love of games and stuff like that.
Initially, the meta for the 0.1 Solana for the fuel canisters, it was bot mitigation. Otherwise, ultimately we have VCs, we have a full runway. We're not trying to raise millions and millions of dollars. I mean, it's great to raise millions of dollars, but we're already there. And so ultimately, really what we're trying to build is just the holders. We're just trying to build that community of people that, when we release what we want to release, suddenly we already have people who are in our corner and who are eager to play what we've made.
Thank you very much, Sean.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for having me on. Love coming on as always.
Do you have anything you want to leave, any message or anything, how to find you?
The Twitter handle is Pew Pew Galaxy, and the website is pewpewgalaxy.com. I am like as we talked about in the beginning, I'm one of the main moderators in OK Bear, so you can always find me there. And happy to answer questions and to support people coming into the community. Ultimately, like so far, it's a lot of memes. It's super funny. People are really excited to be there, and I just can't wait until we actually start minting out the spaceships and we get a little bit further. Some of the AMAs and some of the marketing that's going to turn on once we reveal who we are should really be interesting.
Cool. Anyways, links will be in the description if you want to find
Awesome.
Mr. Burns, you want to find Pew Pew, or anything like that. So thank you very much. Pew Pew!
Thanks for having me on, man.
If you got this far in the video, make sure to support the channel by hitting the like and the subscribe button. And don't forget to write Pew Pew in your Twitter handle in the comments section if you want to win a fuel canister that'll allow you to mint a free Pew Pew ship. If you want to know more about the project, join their Discord and follow them on Twitter. Links are in the description. And if you want to know more about the OGs in the space, watch this video.